The day the sky burned over Earth, nobody could have imagined how quickly life would change. It started with a flash far beyond the clouds. People looked up in fear, trying to understand what they saw. Ships from another world had entered the solar system, massive and black, blotting out the sun in places. No nation had sent a warning. No radar had prepared anyone for the event. The aliens came not to talk but to destroy. Cities disappeared in moments, entire coastlines reduced to ash. People ran, hiding in basements, tunnels, or the few remaining forests. Nothing seemed safe. Among the chaos, a small group of survivors moved through the ruins of what used to be a city near the river. Among them were Daniel, a former firefighter, and Laura, a biologist who had once taught children about the wonders of Earth. They carried with them what they could save: food, water, and the hope of surviving another day. Daniel led the group carefully. The air was thick with smoke, making it hard to breathe. Laura held onto a small bag with supplies, her hands shaking but determined. Around them, other survivors emerged from shelters. Some were injured, some were too shocked to move. Daniel and Laura helped where they could. They moved from street to street, avoiding areas where the aliens had left their machines behind. Those machines were terrifying. They looked alive but were only metal, shooting beams that could turn a building into nothing in seconds. No weapons on Earth had been able to stop them. People had tried, but bullets and missiles vanished against the alien shields. Daniel and Laura realized that survival meant staying hidden, moving quietly, and learning quickly. By the end of the first day, the group found a small underground station. It was old, meant for trains, but it offered shelter. They lit small fires carefully and shared food they had managed to carry. Around them, the sounds of destruction continued. The sky glowed with fire from distant cities, and the ground shook with explosions. Daniel tried to keep everyone calm. He spoke softly, telling stories about the times before the attack, reminding them of what Earth had been. Laura added by explaining the importance of knowledge. She said if they understood the aliens, their machines, and their weaknesses, they could find a way to fight back. Some survivors looked doubtful. Many had lost family and friends in the first hours. Pain and fear were heavy in the underground, but hope clung stubbornly to the few who still believed they could survive. Over the next few days, Daniel and Laura moved carefully through ruined streets looking for other survivors. They learned to recognize the sounds of alien patrols and avoid them. They found more people hiding in basements and abandoned buildings. A few joined their small group, bringing new skills: an engineer named Kevin who could repair machines, a medic named Anna who had helped in a small hospital, and a young boy named Eli who knew the city like the back of his hand. Together they became a team, not by choice but by necessity. Every day they faced the reality that the aliens were stronger, faster, and smarter than humans had ever been. But each day Daniel reminded them that humans had one thing the aliens underestimated: their spirit. In the nights, Laura studied the aliens from hiding spots. She took notes, drew diagrams, and tried to understand the patterns in their attacks. She discovered that the aliens were not invincible. Their ships moved in formations. Their shields required time to recharge after each strike, and their ground machines were limited to certain paths. Laura shared her findings with Daniel and the others. Slowly, a plan began to form. They could not attack yet, but they could observe and learn. Knowledge would be their weapon at first, Daniel agreed, adding that patience would be their shield. They could not let anger lead to mistakes. Each wrong move would cost lives, and already so many had been lost. As the weeks passed, the survivors adapted. They moved in small groups, scavenged for food, and avoided alien patrols. Each encounter with the machines tested their courage. Kevin managed to repair some old vehicles, making them usable for short trips. Anna treated injuries and kept spirits alive with small jokes and reminders of better days. Eli guided them through secret paths, helping avoid the alien patrols. Daniel and Laura became leaders not by choice but because people trusted their judgment. They learned to listen to each other, to value every small idea, and to celebrate small victories. Even surviving a single day without loss became a reason for hope. One day, while scouting the outskirts of the city, Laura noticed something strange. An alien ship had landed but was not patrolling. It seemed damaged. Daniel and the group observed from a distance. This was the first sign that the aliens were not perfect, that they could be hurt. Kevin suggested that maybe they could take one of the machines apart, learn its technology, or even use it against them. Excitement mixed with fear, The idea was dangerous, but it sparked something the survivors had not felt in weeks: hope for revenge. Daniel and Laura exchanged a glance. They knew that the first strike would be small, careful, and precise. Every mistake could mean the end of their group. Yet for the first time since the attack, they felt the beginnings of a plan. Earth might be broken, but humans were not defeated. That night, around a small fire in the underground station, the group discussed what they had seen. Kevin explained how the alien technology might be used. Laura shared observations about alien behavior. Daniel reminded everyone that trust and teamwork were their greatest strengths. He spoke of humanity's past, of wars and challenges that had seemed impossible but had been overcome. Anna quietly handed out small rations and reminded the group that staying alive was the first battle. Eli smiled, showing a map he had drawn of the surrounding area, marking safe paths and potential dangers. In that small space underground, for the first time since the attack, the survivors felt a sense of purpose beyond just staying alive. They had a goal, a direction, and a faint glimmer of hope. In the coming weeks, Daniel and Laura led small scouting missions. They learned to predict alien patrols, identify weak points in their defenses, and avoid deadly traps. They practiced silently, communicated with signals, and learned to move like shadows. Kevin managed to hack a small alien device they had captured, revealing some of its functions. Laura continued her observations, building a detailed understanding of their enemies. Anne attended to injuries, and Eli guided them through secret paths. Slowly, the group became stronger, smarter, and more confident. The memory of destruction and loss remained, but so did a burning desire for revenge. They were human, and humans never gave up no matter how impossible the situation seemed. As Part 1 ends, the survivors are no longer just hiding. They are learning, adapting, and preparing. They know the aliens are stronger and more advanced, but they also know humans have something no machine or alien can replicate: courage, intelligence, and determination. The first seeds of vengeance have been planted. Earth may have been annihilated, but its people are still alive. They are the spark that will ignite a force the aliens cannot ignore. And somewhere in the darkness, Daniel, Laura, and their group look up at the blackened sky and silently promise they will not forget and they will not forgive. The days after the first discoveries were the hardest. Daniel and Laura knew they could not act too quickly, but the desire for revenge grew stronger with each passing hour. The survivors had become careful, moving through the destroyed city in small groups, always watching, always listening. Every sound of the alien patrols made hearts race, but the group was learning. They were no longer just running. They were learning to observe and plan. Kevin worked tirelessly on the small alien device they had captured. At first it seemed useless, just a black box of unknown purpose. But slowly he began to see patterns, strange symbols and buttons that could be manipulated. Laura helped, recording every detail, sketching diagrams, and noting how the device reacted to certain actions. The more they studied, the more they realized that the aliens had weaknesses, small cracks in their perfect machines. One morning, while scouting a neighborhood far from their shelter, Daniel and Eli spotted a group of alien patrols moving in formation. They hid behind the ruins of a shopping mall, breathing quietly. Eli whispered to Daniel about the safest path to follow if they had to escape. Laura and Kevin were behind them, carrying the equipment and notes. The aliens moved slowly, powerful, and careful. Their machines had glowing eyes that scanned everything, and any movement could trigger an alarm. Daniel felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was their chance to observe, to learn more, and maybe to strike in the future. They watched as one of the patrols stopped, examining a ruined building. It was the first time the survivors saw the aliens hesitate. Even these perfect machines were not flawless. It was a small sign, but it gave hope. That night, the group gathered in the underground station. Anna tended to a scraped knee Eli had suffered during their scouting. Daniel spoke quietly, reminding everyone that patience was the key. Laura shared her notes and suggested that if they could capture one of the smaller alien machines, they could learn how to disable the larger ones. Kevin nodded, adding that even a tiny victory would show the aliens that humans were not defenseless. The survivors discussed carefully, weighing risks and possible rewards. Everyone had lost someone they loved. Everyone had seen destruction. But the determination to fight back brought them together. They began to feel like a team with a purpose, not just a group of people hiding from death. A few days later, they found an opportunity. A small alien supply drone had been left near a destroyed building, and it moved slowly. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, and Eli watched from hiding. The drone carried food and energy packs for the patrols. Laura whispered about its structure and movement while Kevin prepared a trap. They waited until the patrols moved away, then slowly approached. Kevin carefully disabled one part of the drone, causing it to shut down without a sound. The group quickly dragged it to a hidden alley and began to study it. It was their first real victory. The alien drone was small, but it held secrets that could help them fight the larger machines. Daniel felt a surge of pride. The group had done something no one else on Earth had managed since the attack began. It was a small step, but it was a step forward. Over the next weeks, the survivors worked carefully with the captured drone. Kevin dismantled parts, Laura took notes, and Daniel watched for danger. They learned how the drone communicated with larger machines, how it moved, and how to disable it completely. Anna and Eli practiced moving silently, making sure no sound would alert the patrols. Each day the group became stronger, more confident. They could now move through some parts of the city with less fear, knowing that small victories were possible. Daniel reminded everyone that knowledge was their most powerful weapon. They could not match the aliens in strength yet, but they could match them in cleverness and patience. Every small success made the group believe that Earth was not finished. One night, as they gathered around a small fire in the underground station, Laura shared a discovery. The aliens were not attacking randomly. They followed patterns, revisited destroyed areas, and avoided certain zones. If humans could predict these movements, they could avoid danger and even plan attacks. Daniel listened carefully. He realized that their fight was not only for survival, but for strategy. Every observation, every small experiment with the drone, was part of a larger plan. The group felt hope growing. For the first time since the world was destroyed, they could see a future where humans could fight back. They were learning not just to survive, but to take revenge. In the days that followed, the survivors began small missions. They moved quietly, tested traps, and practiced disabling patrols. Kevin managed to hack part of the drone's communication system, allowing them to listen to alien commands. Laura took notes, studying how the machines were controlled. Anna taught basic first aid and movement techniques to the younger survivors, while Eli guided them through secret paths. Daniel coordinated everything, making sure the group worked as one. The survivors began to feel a new sense of power. They were humans, small and fragile, but clever and brave. The aliens might have destroyed their world, but humans still had the advantage of creativity, learning, and courage. Each small success fueled their desire to strike back. Then came the first real test. A patrol of larger alien machines moved close to their hiding area. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli prepared carefully. They used the knowledge from the drone to set a small trap. Kevin had modified the drone parts to create a simple device that could interfere with the patrol's sensors. The group hid, holding their breath, watching the machines move into position. When the patrol passed the trap, the device worked. One machine stopped suddenly, confused, and another collided with it. The humans watched silently from their hiding place as the aliens struggled. It was the first time humans had directly caused damage. No one spoke at first, only watching. Then Daniel smiled slightly and the group felt a surge of excitement. They could fight back. They were not helpless anymore. After the success, the survivors retreated to the underground station. They celebrated quietly, careful not to attract attention. Anna handed out small pieces of chocolate she had saved, and Eli smiled proudly, proud of the trap he had helped plan. Laura and Kevin discussed what they had learned from the encounter, taking notes and planning improvements. Daniel reminded everyone that this was only the beginning. The patrols were still strong, but humans had taken their first step in revenge. The fire of determination burned brighter in the survivors' hearts. They knew the road ahead was dangerous, but for the first time, they felt that Earth was not completely lost. They were alive, learning, and ready to fight. As weeks passed, the survivors continued to gather knowledge, set small traps, and move carefully through the ruined city. They learned more about the aliens' weaknesses, how their shields worked, and how to confuse their machines. Kevin and Laura worked on creating more devices from captured parts. Daniel trained the group to act quietly, to communicate with signals, and to trust one another completely. Anna taught resilience, helping the group stay strong despite the memories of destruction. Eli became an expert in moving through the ruins without being seen. Slowly, the survivors built confidence. They were not just waiting for death anymore. They were preparing for vengeance. Earth had been destroyed, but its people were ready to remind the galaxy that humans would not be defeated. By the end of Part 2, the survivors had taken their first real steps toward fighting back. They had captured a small alien drone, learned its secrets, set a successful trap, and survived multiple encounters. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli were no longer just hiding. They were learning, adapting, and preparing for the day when humans would strike back at the invaders, who had destroyed their world. The spark of vengeance had grown into a small flame, and as the survivors looked at the blackened skies, they knew one thing: Earth's people would not give up, and the aliens had not yet seen the true power of human determination. The survivors had grown stronger, but the world outside remained dangerous. Each day, Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli moved carefully through the ruined city, learning more about the aliens and testing their traps. They had become skilled at moving silently, hiding in shadows, and predicting the movements of the alien patrols. Every small victory gave them courage, but the memory of destruction never left their minds. The group knew that survival was only the first step. Soon they would need to strike back more boldly. The city had been reduced to rubble, but humans were adapting. They learned to see danger before it reached them and to turn fear into action. They were no longer just survivors. They were students of war and strategy. One morning, as the group moved through the remains of an old park, Eli noticed a strange glow in the distance. He pointed it out to Daniel, and the group approached cautiously. In the clearing, they saw an alien power source half buried under debris. Kevin immediately understood its value. If they could study it, they might learn how the larger machines were powered and even find a way to disrupt them. The group discussed the risks carefully. The area was too exposed to attack openly, but they could move the device to a safer location. Laura suggested building a small mobile cover to carry it without being seen. Daniel agreed, knowing that patience and planning were more important than speed. The device could hold the key to turning the tide, but only if humans approached wisely. They worked quietly, using scavenged materials to hide the power source. Kevin studied the device while Laura observed its functions and tested weak points. Daniel and Anna kept watch, and Eli scouted the area for alien patrols. For days, they operated carefully, never rushing and always staying alert. The risk was immense, but the reward was greater. The survivors understood that every small step brought them closer to revenge. They were no longer running blindly. They were learning to fight smartly. The city had become a school of strategy, and the teachers were fear and determination. Every trap set, every patrol avoided, and every device captured strengthened their confidence. After securing the power source in a hidden location, the group began to experiment. Kevin carefully dismantled parts of the device, revealing connections that controlled larger machines. Laura took detailed notes and drew diagrams, explaining her findings to Daniel and the others. They discovered that the aliens' main patrols were dependent on this power. If humans could disrupt it, even temporarily, it would give them a significant advantage. The idea excited everyone, but Daniel reminded them to remain cautious. The aliens were strong, but humans had intelligence, creativity, and courage. Every plan had to be tested, every move calculated. The survivors had learned that one wrong step could cost lives, but they also knew that careful action could win battles. One evening, as the group gathered in the underground station, they began planning their first real offensive mission. The power source could be used to disrupt a patrol, but they needed more information about how to approach the machine safely. Kevin had built a small device that could interfere with alien sensors, and Laura had mapped patrol routes. Daniel spoke quietly, explaining the importance of timing, patience, and communication. Anna reminded everyone that injuries could happen, and they had to be ready to treat them. Eli shared knowledge of secret paths, showing how they could move unseen. For the first time, the survivors felt a mixture of fear and excitement. They were preparing to challenge the aliens directly, not just avoid them. The thought of revenge burned in their hearts, giving them strength. The next days were spent practicing and testing. Kevin modified the sensor device, making it smaller and more effective. Laura studied the patrols, predicting movements and noting weak points. Daniel trained the group in silent communication, hand signals, and coordination. Anna prepared medical supplies while Eli led the group through hidden paths, ensuring safety. Each day they grew more confident. Small victories, like avoiding patrols or successfully testing the device, fueled determination. The survivors were no longer just hiding from the aliens. They were preparing to fight to show that humans could adapt, plan, and strike. Their patience and intelligence became their strongest weapons. The ruined city was no longer a place of fear. It had become a training ground, where humans learned to challenge the invaders. Finally, the day came to test their first offensive. A small patrol was moving along a predictable route. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli positioned themselves carefully, using shadows and debris as cover. Kevin activated the sensor device, interfering with the alien machine's ability to detect movement. Laura guided the group silently, pointing out when it was safe to move. Daniel led, ready to react to any danger. The patrol approached, unaware of the trap. As the machines reached the center of the clearing, the survivors triggered a small disruption from the power source. One machine halted, another struggled to move, and the patrol became confused. The humans stayed hidden, observing the effect. It was their first true strike against the aliens, and it worked. The patrol eventually retreated, leaving the area temporarily safe. The group had succeeded in their first offensive action. After the success, the survivors retreated to the underground station, hearts pounding. Daniel spoke quietly, praising everyone's courage and patience. Laura explained what they had learned from the patrol's response, noting ways to improve their devices and tactics. Kevin worked on refining the sensor device while Anna checked everyone for injuries. Eli shared new observations of patrol routes, suggesting more opportunities for disruption. For the first time since the world was destroyed, the survivors felt a real sense of power. They had learned to strike, to interfere with alien operations, and to protect themselves. The spark of revenge had grown into a small flame, lighting the path toward larger victories. The group understood that patience, intelligence, and courage would guide them. They were humans, and humans never gave up. Over the following weeks, the survivors continued to expand their efforts. They set more traps, experimented with devices, and studied alien patterns. Kevin and Laura worked together to develop new tools, each one more effective than the last. Daniel trained the group in coordination and timing, ensuring that everyone could act as one. Anna provided medical care while Eli guided them through hidden paths, keeping them safe. Each successful mission increased confidence while failures taught valuable lessons. The survivors had learned to adapt quickly, think creatively, and act boldly when necessary. The ruined city was no longer only a place of danger. It had become a place of learning, preparation, and strategy. The survivors had grown stronger, smarter, and more determined. They were no longer just hiding. They were preparing for the larger battles to come. By the end of Part 3, the survivors had moved from purely defensive actions to small offensive strikes. They had captured and studied alien devices, disrupted patrols, and learned to operate as a coordinated team. The spark of vengeance had grown brighter, and the survivors understood that patience, planning, and courage were their greatest weapons. They had begun to prove that humans were not weak, and Earth's people would not remain silent while their world had been destroyed. The first steps of vengeance had been taken, and the survivors were ready for the challenges ahead. The flame of human determination burned stronger with each passing day, and the aliens had yet to see the true power of the planet they thought was broken. The survivors had grown stronger with each passing week, but the world outside remained a dangerous place. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli had learned to move silently through the ruined city, predict alien movements, and use their small victories to build confidence. The city was still a wasteland, but humans were no longer simply hiding. They were preparing for something greater. Each small success, every trap set, and every observation made brought them closer to the day when they could strike in full force. The aliens thought Earth was broken and humans weak, but they had underestimated one thing: human determination. The survivors knew that their patience and intelligence would be the keys to survival and revenge. One evening, as the group moved toward an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, Eli noticed something unusual. Alien machines were transporting supplies in a new pattern, and the group quickly realized that the aliens were preparing for something bigger. Daniel signaled the others to hide behind rubble while he watched carefully. Laura pointed out that the supply route might be the perfect opportunity to disrupt operations. Kevin suggested they modify one of their devices to interfere with the larger supply carriers. Anna checked the supplies and ensured everyone was ready in case of injuries. The tension was high, but the group moved with caution, knowing that timing, patience, and strategy would determine success. For several days, the survivors observed the alien supply route. They mapped patrols, studied weak points, and practiced their movements. Daniel emphasized the importance of staying calm under pressure. Laura noted every pattern in alien behavior, while Kevin experimented with new modifications to the sensor device. Eli became a guide, knowing exactly where to hide, when to move, and which paths to take. Anna kept everyone safe and tended to small injuries. Slowly, the plan for a major disruption began to form. The group understood that this mission was riskier than any they had attempted, but it offered the chance to strike at the aliens in a way they had not before. Every detail mattered, and every small error could be deadly. The night before the mission, the group gathered in the underground station. Daniel spoke quietly, reminding everyone of the risks and the importance of patience. Laura reviewed the plan, explaining how the modified device could disable parts of the supply route. Kevin checked the equipment one last time, ensuring it would work as intended. Anna packed medical supplies and Eli went over the escape paths. The survivors felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was the first time they would challenge the aliens directly on a larger scale. The thought of revenge burned in their hearts, giving them courage to face the dangers ahead. At dawn, the group moved quietly toward the supply route. Shadows and debris hid their movements, and every step required careful attention. Kevin carried the modified device, while Laura observed patrols for any unexpected changes. Daniel led the group, ready to act if needed. Eli scouted ahead, signaling when the coast was clear. Anna stayed close to treat any injuries. As the supply carriers moved into position, the group activated the device. A wave of disruption spread across the patrols, confusing the machines. Several carriers stopped suddenly while others moved erratically. The humans stayed hidden, watching carefully. It was their first major strike, and it worked. The aliens were confused, and the supply route was temporarily blocked. The group retreated to safety, hearts pounding with excitement. Daniel spoke quietly, praising everyone's courage and patience. Laura reviewed the results, noting how the aliens responded and what could be improved. Kevin began planning modifications for future missions. Anna checked everyone for injuries, while Eli suggested ways to expand the disruption to other supply routes. The survivors felt a new sense of power. They had struck a serious blow against the invaders, showing that humans were capable of strategy and action. The spark of vengeance had grown into a fire. Earth's people were no longer just surviving. They were fighting back. Over the following weeks, the survivors continued their efforts. They disrupted supply routes, tested new devices, and studied alien patterns more deeply. Kevin built more tools, each one more effective than the last. Laura mapped patrol movements and discovered new weaknesses in alien strategy. Daniel trained the group in coordination, timing, and silent communication. Anna provided medical care and taught ways to move safely through the ruins. Eli guided them through hidden paths, avoiding alien detection. Each mission increased confidence and skill. The survivors were no longer reacting to the aliens. They were shaping the battlefield, choosing when and where to strike. One day, while observing a patrol from a hidden position, Laura noticed a larger ship moving slowly above the city. Daniel studied the patterns and realized that the aliens were preparing a major operation. Kevin suggested using their devices to interfere with the ship's systems. The group agreed that it was dangerous but potentially game-changing. They spent days preparing, mapping movements, and testing their devices. Every detail was carefully considered. The survivors understood that success would require precision, courage, and teamwork. The ruined city had become their classroom, where each day taught new lessons in strategy, patience, and human ingenuity. Finally, the day came to test their most ambitious plan yet. The group moved into position quietly, using shadows and hidden paths. Kevin carried the modified device while Laura observed from a distance. Daniel led the group, ready to react. Eli scouted ahead, and Anna stayed close to treat injuries. As the alien ship moved over their location, Kevin activated the device. A pulse of interference spread across the ship's systems. The humans watched as lights flickered and machinery stopped responding. The ship wavered in the sky, confused and disoriented. The group stayed hidden, observing the results. It was their first direct challenge to the alien leadership, And it had worked. The aliens were vulnerable, and the humans had shown they could strike back with intelligence and courage. After the mission, the group returned to the underground station. Hearts racing, Daniel spoke quietly, reminding everyone that they had achieved something remarkable. Laura reviewed what they had learned and suggested improvements for future missions. Kevin began designing stronger devices, while Anna ensured everyone was healthy and ready. Eli shared new observations of alien patrols and hidden paths. The survivors felt stronger than ever. They had proven that humans were not helpless, that intelligence, courage, and teamwork could challenge even the most powerful enemies. The fire of vengeance burned brighter with each passing day. Over the following weeks, the survivors expanded their efforts. They disrupted patrols, attacked supply lines, and interfered with larger ships. Each mission increased their confidence and skill. Kevin and Laura developed new devices and strategies, while Daniel trained the group in coordination and timing. Anna provided care and support, and Eli guided them through hidden paths. The survivors were no longer merely hiding. They were learning to fight, to shape the battlefield, and to take revenge for the destruction of their world. Each small victory strengthened the belief that humans could challenge the aliens no matter how strong or advanced they seemed. By the end of Part 4, the survivors had grown into a skilled and coordinated team. They had disrupted patrols, attacked supply lines, and challenged larger ships. The spark of vengeance had grown into a fire that could not be ignored. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli were no longer just hiding from the aliens. They were preparing for the moment when humans would strike back fully, showing that Earth's people could not be destroyed. The fire of determination burned brightly, and the aliens had not yet seen the true power of human ingenuity, courage, and teamwork. The survivors knew that the final battles were coming, and they were ready to face them. The time had come for the survivors to take the fight to the aliens in full. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli had spent months learning, observing, and preparing. They were no longer a small group hiding in the ruins of a city. They had become a team of skilled strategists, engineers, and fighters. The aliens had thought humans weak and helpless, but the survivors had grown stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever. They understood alien machines, patrols, and supply routes, and they had developed tools to disrupt them. Every small victory in the past months had led to this moment. Earth's vengeance was ready to be unleashed. The group gathered in the underground station one last time to plan the final strike. Daniel spoke quietly, explaining the mission and reminding everyone of the risks. Laura shared her observations of the alien command ship and the main supply lines. Kevin explained the devices they would use to interfere with the patrols and larger machines. Anna packed medical supplies and checked everyone's health, while Eli reviewed the escape routes and paths of approach. Each survivor knew their role perfectly. The plan was clear: disrupt the aliens, weaken their forces, and strike decisively at the heart of their operations. Fear was present, but courage burned brighter. They were ready. As night fell, the group moved toward the main alien supply hub. Shadows and ruins hid their movements. Kevin carried the largest device designed to disrupt power to multiple machines at once. Laura observed patrols from a distance, signaling when it was safe to move. Daniel led, always alert, ready to react to danger. Eli scouted ahead, moving quickly and quietly to ensure there were no surprises. Anna stayed close, ready to help anyone injured. The group moved like shadows, silent and careful. Every step had to be precise. One mistake could cost their lives, but they moved with confidence, knowing that months of preparation had brought them here. As they approached the supply hub, the aliens were already moving in patterns Laura had predicted. Daniel signaled for the group to stop while Kevin activated the devices. A pulse of interference spread across the area, and the alien machines froze, faltering as their systems malfunctioned. The humans stayed hidden, observing the chaos. Some patrols collided, others stopped mid-motion, and the larger supply machines were thrown into confusion. It was the largest disruption the survivors had attempted, and it worked perfectly. Daniel smiled slightly, and the group felt a surge of hope. They were no longer just survivors. They were the spark of revenge that would ignite Earth's fight. Moving quickly and carefully, the survivors struck at key machines, using the confusion to their advantage. Kevin guided the devices remotely. Laura pointed out weak spots, and Daniel led the attacks. Anna treated minor injuries and ensured everyone stayed coordinated, while Eli moved through hidden paths, guiding the team safely. The aliens fought back, but their systems were disrupted, leaving them vulnerable. For the first time, humans had gained a real advantage. The survivors worked together with precision and courage. Every action was calculated, and every success built momentum. The ruined city had become a battlefield, and humans were beginning to take control. The command ship above noticed the disruptions and sent reinforcements, but the survivors were ready. Kevin had prepared additional devices to interfere with sensors, while Laura had studied the patterns to predict reinforcements. Daniel coordinated the group, moving swiftly from one position to another. Eli guided them through shadows and debris, and Anna provided support wherever needed. The aliens were strong, but humans had intelligence, strategy, and courage. Every move the survivors made showed the aliens that Earth's people were not defenseless. Slowly, the tide of battle began to shift. By morning, much of the alien supply hub was disabled. Machines lay scattered and confused, unable to coordinate. The survivors had struck decisively, but they did not stop. They continued to disrupt patrols, destroy key machines, and disable communication lines. Kevin monitored devices remotely. Laura analyzed alien responses, and Daniel ensured that the group remained safe and coordinated. Anna tended to injuries, while Eli guided the team through hidden paths to stay ahead of enemy reinforcements. The aliens realized that humans were dangerous in ways they had not anticipated. Every small strike had prepared the survivors for this moment, and now they were showing the true power of human intelligence and courage. After the battle at the hub, the group retreated to a safe location. The city was still in ruins, but the survivors felt stronger than ever. Daniel spoke quietly, reminding everyone that this was only the beginning. Laura reviewed notes on alien behavior, noting weaknesses and new patterns. Kevin prepared additional devices for future missions. Anna ensured everyone was healthy and ready for what was coming next. Eli studied paths and escape routes. The survivors understood that the final battles were ahead, but they were no longer fearful. They had proven that humans could fight back, adapt, and take control. Earth's vengeance had begun. Over the next days, the survivors continued to strike at alien operations, targeting key patrols, supply lines, and communication networks. Each mission grew more ambitious, each strike more effective. Kevin and Laura developed stronger devices. Daniel led the team with confidence. Anna provided care and support, and Eli guided them through the ruins safely. The aliens began to recognize humans as a real threat, one that could not be ignored. For the first time, Earth's people were not just surviving. They were fighting back with strategy, courage, and determination. The fire of revenge had grown into a flame that could not be stopped. Finally, the survivors decided to strike at the alien command center. Months of observation, planning, and small victories had prepared them for this moment. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli moved carefully, using shadows, hidden paths, and their devices to disrupt sensors and patrols. Every step was precise. The aliens were powerful, but the humans were clever, coordinated, and determined. As they reached the command center, Kevin activated the largest device they had ever used. A pulse of interference spread across the alien systems, halting communication and causing chaos. The survivors moved swiftly, disabling machines, avoiding detection, and striking with precision. By the end of the mission, the command center was in chaos. Alien forces were scattered, their machines disabled, and their leadership disrupted. The survivors had achieved the impossible. Humans, thought to be weak and helpless, had fought back with intelligence, courage, and determination. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli looked at the results of their efforts, proud of what they had accomplished. Earth's vengeance had been delivered, and the aliens had learned that humans were not to be underestimated. As the survivors returned to their safe location, they felt a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The battle had been long and dangerous, but they had proven that humans could survive, adapt, and strike back. The ruined city still stood as a reminder of what had been lost, but it also bore witness to what humans had achieved. Daniel spoke quietly to the group, praising their courage, patience, and determination. Laura shared observations about alien weaknesses that could be used in the future, while Kevin prepared new devices. Anna ensured everyone was healthy, and Eli guided the team through safe paths. Together, they had rewritten the story of Earth's survival. By the end of Part 5, the survivors had transformed from frightened refugees into skilled warriors. They had disrupted patrols, destroyed supply lines, disabled communication networks, and struck at the alien command center. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and determination could overcome even the most powerful enemies. Earth had been destroyed, but its people had risen from the ashes, ready to fight for their world and their future. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli had led the charge, showing that humans would never give up, never surrender, and would always find a way to take revenge. The aliens had learned the true power of Earth's people, and the flame of human vengeance would never be extinguished. The survivors looked at the blackened sky one last time. They had endured loss, fear, and destruction, but they had also discovered strength, courage, and hope. The world had been annihilated, but humanity had shown that it could rise again. Daniel, Laura, Kevin, Anna, and Eli knew that the battle was only the beginning, but they also knew that Earth's people had won a decisive victory. They had taken their revenge, and the galaxy would never forget the power of humans who refused to be defeated. The fire of vengeance had been lit, and it would burn forever.